Hello, everyone. College Coaching Network here. We wanted to come out today and actually be able to share with the public one of our Ambassador Club meetings. So we're calling it Ambassador Club Live. And we are so honored today to have a special guest that's going to talk to our students about scholarship writing for essays for scholarships. So her name is Crystal Everett. Let's everyone welcome Miss Crystal Everett.
Hello,
Hi,
hello.
Crystal.
Hi, good to see you all, good friends.
Good to see you as well. And of course, we have Claude here, who is our founder and CEO. So we are excited to have Crystal today with us that's going to be able to talk about scholarship essay writing with our students and be able to give some relevant tips because it is definitely variables when it comes to writing scholarships to get essays because those dollars are needed. So I'm going to turn it over to Claude and he'll be able to kind of open us and guide us through our conversation.
Yeah, definitely. Crystal, thank you. Really appreciate. And your official title, can you give everybody your official title, please?
Well, there's multiple. I'll say the one that pays the most at the moment is as the real world learning coordinator for Kansas City Public Schools. So really being able to make sure that students are supported in whatever they want to do after high school, whether it be college or career.
Love it. Love it. So Crystal and I go back, has it been about 3 years now? 2-3 years?
It has been 3, and I'm going to use my daughter's life milestones because she just turned 3. And I was like, okay, she was approaching 1, so 2 for sure.
Yeah, okay.
In terms of where we met at Dion's event. So glad we have just been able to stay connected.
Yeah, that's cool. And I've always admired. Hey, yep. So she's 3.
She is 3, so class of 2036 from wherever, at least from high school. So pandemic parenting means that you get things like that. So she is 3 going on 30. So
we love what we do with our Ambassador Club. We have students out there. We're doing it live today. Traditionally, we'll do a live these as we continue to grow out this part of what we're doing at College Coaching Network, where it's just going to be restricted to our private groups. We want to have it where the kids feel part of the community and they can have their friends or their brothers or sisters running around in the background, making crazy rabbit ears and all that stuff. We just want it to be very laid back and engaging, so the kids feel like they can come out to a group and just get some real life help when they're in class, especially traditional class. Like my daughter did 7 Zoom classes today. She's 11 years old. They had a half a day. She did 7 classes by 1 o'clock. She's just tired. So we want to make this Ambassador Club where it's real laid back. You can have some fun. We can laugh. We can crack jokes and all that. But today we want to talk about scholarships and how people can get money for scholarships. So kids don't like writing essays. We know that. So my first question to you is, how do you help people get over the stigma that I don't want to write an essay? I just don't want to waste my time. How do you help kids? If you don't even want to write one, that's our place to get people to start thinking about writing. How do you get over that?
Okay, I think I missed part of it. It was kind of going in and out. Can you type the question? I heard most. Okay, there we go. There you go.
How do you help the kids get over not wanting to write a scholarship essay?
I think one of the biggest things that's showing students is kind of like pay now or pay later. So if you pay now with your time in terms of writing your essay, then when you think about actually paying for your college education, you can chill a little bit, on the back end. But I know sometimes in talking to students, it's like another essay, but it's like, hey, even if you get this 500 now, and think about, it takes you an hour or 2 to craft it. That's a pretty good return on investment of your time. So pay now with your time or pay later with the money.
Yeah. Okay, so
as a parent, I think they'll appreciate the payment of time versus the money on the back end.
Yes. Yeah. And I know it's like you want to kick it with your friends, and I'm sure kicking it with friends is a little bit different these days for everybody, especially for high school students. But it's you gotta get to it. You gotta buckle down. And I think students will also see, you can tweak and revise essays. It's not literally starting from scratch. So as we get into the tips, that's definitely one of them. You don't have to start from scratch each time when you're writing an essay.
So you already gave yourself an alley-oop. So I'm going to throw the ball right in the air and let you slam dunk it. Give us some tips that can help.
Yeah. So like I said, that's definitely one of them. I think, one of the things that helped me. So I guess short story. I graduated from Lincoln Prep in 2006, and went on to Drake University for my undergrad degree. And so I remember writing these essays. I remember going to the counselor's office probably every day. Like, look, is it a new scholarship application? Is it a new one? And so in hindsight, I realized I was looking at local scholarships. So it was, okay, I'm not really competing with as many students. But then, so just kind of developing a strategy of looking at what's local. So what your church, fraternities and sororities. I can't talk. Who are those people that you're already connected to locally that can, help provide different scholarships? Cotillion, Debutante Ball, all of those different scholarship programs. So again, kind of that time investment component. Then looking at, what does my state have to offer? What, those national scholarships. So of course, like the Millennium Scholarship with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which I don't even know if that's a big scholarship as much anymore, but it's like you're competing with students from across the country. But if you think of, the Kansas City, Missouri alumni chapter of Delta Sigma Theta, which I'm a member of Delta, but it's like, hey, you're only competing with students, here in Kansas City for that. I think the biggest thing probably before you even think about submitting the application is proofreading and understanding deadlines. I mean, there are plenty of people, including everybody here. I mean, you have a network of teachers, counselors who will just look over your essay, even for those of us who think we're pretty good writers, you're like, I could use somebody else's eyes on my work. And meeting deadlines. So there's the deadline just passed. There was the Black Achiever Scholarship, and maybe it's due tomorrow, maybe it was due last week, but there was a scholarship. And so that's a problem if I don't know the scholarship application deadline as a student. But just being able to meet those deadlines. And if they say mail this application by this date or email it or, whatever those steps that are outlined, you have to follow those because that's an easy way to eliminate students. So if you have a group of 15, 20 students who all meet the application criteria, but you're the one who didn't turn it in on time, that's an easy way to say, well, okay, well, now we're down to a smaller pool. And I think just, using your own voice. I know sometimes students may feel like they don't have anything to write about, or if they don't fall into the category of feeling like they have the sad story to tell, or, I maybe had a level of privilege that other students didn't have. But there's some, when we talk about adversity looks different for every student. So even if you didn't maybe have such negative circumstances, there's some stories to pull from. And that really comes from having experiences. I mean, I'm sure the essays that will come from the class of 2021, or even that came from the class of 2020 about the impact of COVID and mental health and how it impacted their families, that's some adversity that I think all of us can relate to in some form or fashion. So those are kind of some of the big ones for sure.
So when you talked about tweaking, how many essays should a student write before they just start tweaking the essays that they already have?
Maybe two. I mean, because I think most scholarships will say, well, why do you want this scholarship? And that can be kind of universal, but it also should be tailored to the organization. So, but I think at least two that are kind of like, this, maybe it's a place to start is like, what's your life story? And being able to maybe start from birth. And of course you can maybe interview some family members about what that is, or just, again, kind of speaking from your own experience. But that could be kind of like the big draft. And then you can, tweak parts of it. Think about, what are your experiences with school? Why did you choose the major? What was that reason that you wanted to be a lawyer? Did you watch so much CSI or Law and Order SVU or whatever the case may be? Or did you have that personal experience with law enforcement or the criminal justice system. And so just really thinking about what those experiences mean, and just, kind of tell your story. So 2 or 3
I love it.
is probably a good place to start.
And the last question I have before we have a couple of these that we want you to take a peek at. Walk me through like how students should follow up. Like, I mean, some of these kids are writing scholarship essays, they're not getting them edited, and then they sit on them, or they write them and then they forget to send them, or they write them and then they send them and then they don't follow up with the scholarship foundation. Like, what is your system that you help a kid walk through in order to go from finding the scholarship to writing the essay to submitting that for the application?
I'm trying to think. It's been a little bit of time in working directly with the student on that, but I do think some of the technical things are maybe a follow up via email. But even then, when you think about proofreading, and it's not like, hey, Claude, just being able to utilize formal terms because you don't know this person that you're communicating with, or to whom it may concern is probably general enough that you could send, because if it's maybe to a large organization. But I think some scholarships are getting better to say, here's a person, because sometimes that helps students make that connection to that person. And that's, when I think about networking, hey, mom, dad, uncle, grandpa, teacher, do you know this person? And I'm saying Kansas City because we're such a small place that everybody is connected and low key related when you think about it. But just, hey, do you know this person? Give them a recommendation for me, or let them know that I'm applying for this scholarship. But I do think that follow-up is important, especially if the students are awarded the scholarship. I know that some scholarships require you to send a thank you card or letter or whatever the case may be. But I think that could just be a general practice of like, thank you for considering me for this scholarship, especially if maybe there's like an interview component. But the follow-up is key, and it's just probably as key as the actual scholarship application.
I would definitely say so. So,
Clyde,
Mika, go ahead.
I would like to go back to something that you said earlier. You mentioned about students writing in their own voice. And I think that a lot of times people feel like I'm not a writer. And so what does writing in your own voice look like? It looks like for someone that is so well versed in essay writing.
Yeah. Well, just and it kind of just came to mind now. But I mean, because sometimes we tell students like, don't write how you talk, but at the same time, you want it to feel authentic and conversational. Sometimes we associate being smart with using big words, but it's like, no, make it plain, keep it simple, but get to the point. And so maybe one strategy is like, speak it out loud and see how that feels, then be able to write as you would and craft a paragraph, craft a beginning, middle, and end, those kind of things. But I think using your voice is like, if you're a 17 or 18-year-old student, no one's expecting you. Okay, I'll go get you some in a second. Nobody's expecting that you had 4 years of college English. So just to that point of being able to, again, the basics of like proofreading and having someone look over it, but just be yourself, and not try to take a story that's not yours. So that's a whole nother issue.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do we have any questions? I know somebody made a comment out there, but if there's anybody has any questions, you guys can put it in the chat. Let us know. We have an expert here. We have some families that actually went into what's called our elite program. That's where individual families choose to be a part of College Coaching Network because the school district that they go to hasn't purchased the program as a whole district. And so some of those families, we've invited them out today. So if any of them have questions, feel free. Make sure there's one family I know that they cannot wait to have you come out. So we definitely will have you come back. And I want to make sure that some of those students can have some essays done like we did before, that you guys can get a chance to look at in advance, and then you can kind of help them proofread through some of those. So I have Mika. I emailed you. Did you receive the email I just sent over to you?
Let's see.
It's like, and while you pull that up, I just, thought of a point of, to now is the time to look at scholarship essays and applications. And it's not even just seniors, just to put in a plug for KC Scholars. So for those 9th and 11th grade students, they will have that scholarship application that'll be open here. Good job. In January 1st, I think the application will open.
Okay.
So those 9th graders have access to the college savings component, and then the 11th grade students, the traditional scholarship. So it's not even just, hey, I'm a senior going off to college maybe next year. There's some opportunities now. And so just don't want to make sure it doesn't feel exclusive to the class of 2021.
Exactly. And
that is a great point.
That's an amazing point. We need to reach out to KC Scholars. So if you have a connection over there, we want to see.
I got a connection. Eric Thompson. He's probably not watching. And so I know he just was working at MCC for a while, and now he's at KC Scholars. He's more with the adult learner scholarship, which again, for our parents who maybe want to go back and finish a degree, there's that component. But they have a great team, and I think very highly of KC Scholars and what they're able to provide. I mean, I remember writing letters of recommendation for students when they first launched in Kansas City, and to know like these students are going into their senior year with up to $50,000 for college. Like, that's pretty amazing. I imagine that's how I felt for people who graduated from college and had a job. I did not have that feeling, but just kind of having that power of the scholarship. And yes, you do have to use it at certain colleges, but to know that you have that money there is great. So no, I'm happy to make a connection, and I know that they will be glad to join in.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Could you open up that PDF? Okay, great.
Yeah.
I need to drop just for 5 minutes because I've got a kiddo. But if we could display that scholarship, it's 2 of them, scholarship essays that I wanted to see if you could just use your expertise, please, and break that down. And while you're breaking that down for everybody, make sure that you display that on break. Is there a way you can share your screen for her to see that?
Yes, I'm bringing it up now.
And the question that you asked, Mika, about them finding their voice, that's why we love you. So those are the kind of questions I never would even thought about.
Yes.
Okay, teamwork.
Teamwork makes the dream work. So can you see my screen?
I can see it. Can you enlarge it like just a little bit? Okay.
Okay. Is it bigger?
Yes, that's it.
That be good enough?
Yeah. Well,
and
is it
under that view, Mika?
Oh yeah, where it says 100%. Yeah, maybe make it like 125.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that.
Like me.
I was like, wait, I just got some new eyes, got some LASIK over the summer, but still.
Let's see. She said she got her LASIK over the summer. Look, that is incredible.
Yeah, it's working out pretty well. I just got to keep my eyes moisturized. Yeah.
Okay, so view. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, that percentage. Yeah, it's even better.
There we go. Is that better?
Or
at 150. Is it showing that it went up?
Yeah, it went up. It's good. That okay?
Okay.
All right.
Look, I made it 200. There we go.
Okay, and then just kind of, can you adjust?
Yeah, I can scroll over.
Okay.
Yeah, if you want to read that, why? I mean, it depends. That's their voice, but if you want to read that and then kind of, because then they can kind of see like the message that, and then you can give them some ideas of some writing points. 150 may be better. You give them some ideas writing point.
Okay. Is it
Right,
just
I'll
kind of this one
be
paragraph?
right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I will scroll as you go.
Okay.
Actually,
Gotcha. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay, Crystal.
All right. As I opened the door and the bell rang, alerting the employee behind the counter that another customer had entered, I was greeted with a cheerful smile. That's when I knew it was going to be a good experience. I approached the counter, eyes glazed over and mouth watering from all the enticing smells, wondering what I should order. I didn't know whether or not to stay in my comfort zone at a new restaurant and just order a plain chicken quesadilla or try something new. So I went for it. I'm getting hungry thinking of it. May I have a chicken burrito bowl with the tortilla on the side? Initially, I hesitated, not knowing if I made the right decision, but was quickly snapped out of my thoughts when I heard the employee say medium or hot. I answered her and continued through the line. I can't talk. Continued through the line. Paid the cashier $6.50. Then went to go sit down. I opened the top of the container, opened my tortilla, picked up my fork, and took a bite of the bowl. As I took a deep breath and put the fork in my mouth, I felt my life change instantly. It was right then I knew I had found my new favorite food. Thank you, Mari. Taking the risk of walking into Chipotle for the first time and stepping out of my comfort zone and trying something new has created an everlasting memory for me. Without ever doing that, I wouldn't ever be adventurous when it comes to trying out new foods. This will be a good place to transition into how it has worked in other areas. Okay, that looks
So
like
they have their notes.
okay, gotcha. Well, like I said, I was hungry thinking about it, so I think whoever is going to be reading that would find the same thing. But I think from a I'm a visual learner, and so I'm like picturing what that looks like and walking through this restaurant with this student as they're reading it. But I think it really just kind of sets the stage for what it looks like. I mean, depending on how many words they have to get to the point, that might matter because the intro was kind of long and kind of the build up to like going to the cashier. But I think it really does set the stage and helps the reader really kind of be in that place. But just thinking about, okay, well, what's next and what's so great about Chipotle, And so it's kind of like, well, knowing what the prompt is and how much time. But like I said, enjoyed reading it, at least thus far.
I think that's one of the big things when it comes to writing, like what you said when they painted this vivid picture, is
Very
if you was there. But
Yeah.
you also talked about how it was kind of drawn out in the beginning. So can you talk about that balancing aspect to writing of being able to paint a picture yet get to the point?
Like I said, I think maybe kind of depending on, how much time and space that you have, but it's like you got to hook the reader in a pretty quick amount of time. So kind of keeping it to a paragraph or just like what are the main points that people need to see and hear or read about in that first section. So you don't have a lot of time to continue to hook the reader because it's like, all right, well, let's just get to where we're going. Someone could definitely read that and have that response, or they could be so intrigued that they want to learn more. But the other part is how many other essays is someone reading when if they're evaluating scholarship essays. So kind of maybe going to the point of this person is reading a lot of essays, so just say what you have to say and keep going. So
That's a good one. So I have one more that I want to share. Let me make it bigger. This one is about to stop texting and driving, which is I feel like a great topic.
yes, very important, very important. All right, it seems like a harmless gesture to send a quick LOL on my way, okay, or TTYL when you're driving, but taking your eyes off the road for just that quick amount of time, you can travel the length of a football field. For a simple reference, that is about 300 feet. In that long of a distance, so much can actually happen, especially when you are moving in a 4,000 pound vehicle and there are other people on the road. I value my friends' lives just as much as I value my own. Seeing them put their lives at risk every time they get behind the wheels of their cars, I become nervous. I see the vulnerable states that they are putting themselves in and others into when they pull out their phones and begin to text and drive. If I had the opportunity to say anything to my friends to save them from making this careless mistake, I would ask them if they are willing to carry the guilt of ending someone else's life from a stupid, careless mistake. I will be sure to share so many facts with them that it will scare them into not wanting to use their phones while driving. Some examples: one in every four accidents are caused by someone texting while driving. Approximately 660,000 drivers each day attempt to text and drive, resulting in about 1.6 million accidents each year. Statistics say that it is more dangerous to text and drive than to drive drunk. Each day, an average of 11 teens die from texting and driving, even though approximately 97% of teens have acknowledged that texting and driving is dangerous. About 35% of them admit to doing it anyway. I would ask.
So So, Chris, I wanted
Yeah.
to kind of chime in right there because this paper was different
Mhm.
in the fact that the topics, of course, are totally
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
spectrums. But this student went into giving statistical data
Mhm.
in their writing. What's kind of like the standards, or what should be your level of expectation that you set when it comes to essay writing and including statistics?
Um, I think just at bare minimum, citing sources. And even if it's maybe not necessarily called for, I think it's just one of those things that comes to writing that, yeah, generally people, this student hasn't confirmed those statistics for themselves. So just citing sources. But in terms of the essay itself, like very powerful. And I mean, I've seen a lot of videos about texting and driving and what that is. And so it sounds like maybe a part of the prompt is to say, what would you say to your friends and what does that mean? And so kind of back to that visual component of, driving the length of a football field. People have a general reference for what that means. So I think very powerful. And got to the point and then, hey, this is what I would tell people. This is how I know this is true. All of that. So
So the other part I want to ask, because there's a lot of scholarships out there and
there's a
essays on all different spectrums. And this being your area of expertise, what do you feel like has been, or what success things can you say that can set a student up to get their essay like at the top of the list? Like, what are the things you, as reading people's essays, what are the key things that you're looking for? Like, yeah, I want to give them money. Because ultimately that's
yeah.
the goal.
Right.
I'm writing for dollars.
This is true. Um, yeah, because I mean, again, back to KC Scholars, I have the honor of reviewing essays, and so just when I think about, why do I want to give this student a 5 versus this student a 1 or 2, but it really is just okay. I'm being brought in, and again, I think sometimes the challenge is we think that we have to have the worst life story in order to get to write an essay that will move people. But it's like, no, even if, it was something about, I don't know, I'm trying to think of something really kind of off the top of my head. But again, it's not so much of like you had the worst life, but it's really like, what did you learn from it? What is something that brings you joy? What makes you happy? That is just like that genuine level of happiness. That's a story that is about you and maybe not necessarily what happened to you. And I guess that example might be of, um, my mother had this experience, but well, how does that impact you? It was your mother's experience, but it could have had an impact on you. But just again, those stories that feel like they're someone is just trying to speak their truth. I do and maybe it's just because I used to want to be a journalist, and so it was like writing and proofreading and language, all of that mattered. So to me, that's an important part, just because there are people who will just be that extra set of eyes. And so for me, if a student doesn't is missing a bunch, there's a lot of different errors. It's just like, okay, you didn't take the time to, you didn't care enough about your essay that you at least wanted one other person to look over it. So, I think that's
to review it.
yeah, just get an additional reviewer. Like I said, I think I'm a pretty decent writer, but it's like, you know what? Wait, and you have somebody look over it. Like, how did I miss and, or how did I miss a the? And you're like, and so it's especially for students who are just kind of getting started with essay writing or all of that, then it's probably much easier for them to miss it too. So
I want to point out real quick two quick things. One, selfish shameless plug. I actually looked at you guys on the app, and
nice.
I watched my Bluetooth in my car, and my daughter was like, and it looked amazing on the phone app.
Nice.
Looking at you stream everything, y'all look like some. Yes, and it was crazy because I saw you in my YouTube channel, so it actually showed from the YouTube channel on my phone.
Nice.
It was beautiful. So I digress.
No, it's not shameless. Hey,
that was cool. Wow, that was cool. Yeah, that was like, well, yeah, that was cool. Right. So there's a guy that was on the Shark Tank, and there's a guy that was on the Shark Tank and an app. It's called Ollie. You guys, I don't know if you ever heard of that app. It's a scholarship app, and it's an aggregator that pulls a lot of scholarships and stuff like that to come. I looked at his app, and his app is phenomenal. The thing about this app that's a little bit different, though, is they don't really train you on doing what Crystal does. They tell you to go to Grammarly or to Paperator, which are great resources, and we train on that too. But there's something about having a person that can give you that physical, that interaction, that human interaction that can help you find your voice. Because to me, those are about sentence structures, noun, verbs, pronouns, plagiarism, stuff like that. But finding the voice. So as you were reading that second one on texting while driving, that's not one that you would see a lot of scholarships being kind of offered towards. But how do you help people find their voice? I know you were saying, like, you got to be unique, kind of like conversational, but that voice is kind of tied to maybe an injustice that people see in the world, like people dying because of texting and driving, or it could be right now, Black Lives Matter. And there's Caucasians and Blacks that are probably feeling the same pain that there's not equality, right? Or whatever minority group that you're in. But how do you help people tap into the voice that you cannot get from Grammarly or Paperator?
I mean, and the examples you gave were great. And I think it's just kind of this idea of like, what do you care about? And I think when you care about something, it's much easier to write about it. So when I think of, well, just even the essay about texting and driving, I mean, I got the feeling that the person writing truly cared about, well, how do my friends act when they're in the car? And yes, they know that it's dangerous, but they do it anyway. And I want them to live. That was kind of a heartstring, maybe dramatic, but just I felt that the writer believed that was true. But like I said, once you have something you care about, then I think that shows. And then just I think as we consider what how we care about other people, I mean, I think there's a level of empathy that can help people find their voice. So, to the point of a white person being able to support Black Lives Matter, that they could pretend like, well, whatever you're saying about Black lives, well, I got white privilege, I don't have to care, but I'm willing to do what I can in my space to help other people who have experienced decades, centuries of injustice. So just, again, what do you care about? And then what does that mean for other people besides yourself? So those always kind of shine through. So even kind of to your point, Mika, about, what to look for. It's, what kind of like what legacy do you want to leave, but also just like caring about someone besides yourself.
That's good. That's good. I love the fact of being able to relate it to different things to paint a clear picture, but being able to show your emotion and connection to it. Because even in the example that you said about this was my mom's experience, but this is how her sharing that experience impact me. Because there is a group of students out there that's like, I didn't grow up in this environment. I didn't have this adversity happen to me. Oh, I'm not going to qualify for scholarships because I don't have a sob story.
Right.
And that's not the case. It is your interpretation of a particular situation and how it impacted your life. Because I always say everyone doesn't have to touch the stove to know that it's hot.
Right. It's okay. Because I think, as I think about, us raising, my own daughter, it's like, well, she will have different experiences, but that's kind of the goal. Like, we don't want people to feel like they have to go through trauma in order to say they had a good life, or overcome that trauma. Like, it's okay to just make sure our children don't. It's okay that you live in a nice house in the suburb, whatever. Like, your parents have worked towards that and have, maybe made some sacrifices. So it's okay.
Right.
Yes,
And I think a good point that you made too. Right now, our students have like this amazing writing prompt with the pandemic.
Right. Well, yeah, it's like if there's anything to come out of it.
Right. It's a great writing prompt because there's the mental part, there's the transitional part with, for example, my son, he had to go and take a PSAT at his school and he's been virtual learning. He was like, oh my God, it was weird being around kids that are my age again.
Right.
But it was awesome. So
just turning on a better light. I'm still here.
So even that type of experience creates a great writing prompt. And so I think that it would be amazing for kids to start thinking of these things because of the importance of essays. Essays equal dollars.
Right.
Yeah.
And just like, journaling, I think is an important experience. Sometimes just kind of write it out. Maybe it's not even essay worthy yet, but just to the point of how we are experiencing the pandemic. Like, what does that mean that you couldn't have graduation or you're not going to school every day or, all of that. So it's real.
So I got a question just for the kids that in the last minutes that we have that they're like, okay, I hear you telling me that I need to find something that I care about. You're also saying that I need to find some topics. Maybe I don't have that story that I, grew up in the inner city and I went from that to, being in a better position. But when I grew up, I'm older. So when I grew up, we used to do things that were called clustering, right? And clustering was, we called it a canvas. And the canvas was just your sheet of paper. And on that sheet of paper, you would start to write down one idea. So let me give you just an example. And then I want to see if you can take us to another level with this. So let's take, for example, something that I care about. I care about families not having the financial literacy that they need to make the right financial decisions. And that causes, to me, generational financial curses, possibly in people's family, where one person made a bad financial decision, and then that went down to their kids, and it just continues on, right? And so one person in the family tree could change the dynamic of the whole family, right? It's not going to be easy, but you have to do some things so if I wrote down on my canvas that financial literacy, right? That's something that I care about. And then why I care about it, because I believe that when people have the resources, families can come together and you're not stressing about how you're going to feed everybody for Thanksgiving that's coming up or Christmas, or how you're going to get gifts for people that you love. So I can now cluster off of that. I can go financial literacy. I can go families coming together. I can talk about Christmas. I can talk about no stress, right? And so I think that's one thing that you can write, one thing that you care about, and then it can spider into multiple areas that could cause you to be able to write multiple essays from different vantage points. Can you elaborate a little bit more on like what that would look like if you did something like that?
I think now it's called mind mapping, Claude.
Yeah, yeah, I was like, oh, web is
Yeah, it's called mind mapping.
is something that
Mind
comes
map.
to mind.
Okay,
But,
new name. New name. I love it.
yeah. But no, just and say I don't know if this will show up, but like just okay. Something like that. You got your main point in the middle, and it just really kind of sparks. So probably even for I made a son. Even for our visual learners, or students who are maybe more artistic, then they can draw or writing is like the second or third thing, and so they start with okay, you can make a son too, sweetie. And just kind of starting
We
there.
already have a writer. We already have a writer right there.
We have a writer. She does like to write, so we get or color and draw, and so she's really creative already. But just that's the place, and it's just like, oh, and I thought about this and add this, and so that's usually a tool that teachers use to get students to brainstorm when they're doing an essay for class, and so I think it's applicable here for sure. It's just that might even be the first step of like, okay, I don't know where to start, but I have this one central idea, and then I'm able to just bounce ideas off of myself. I can share it with someone else who can help me think through it and just kind of utilize that writing process. But this Apple Pencil has kind of helped me even do different things like that. So if I'm thinking of kind of strategic planning things, or okay, I don't want to forget this, I call it kind of my personal parking lot. That is just ideas that spark ideas that spark ideas. So that's we all got these different words for them, but clustering and mind mapping and a web, but still the concept works well, at least from how I see it.
I think that's excellent. Claude, did you have any additional questions?
Yeah, I do got like two more. Because it's got to be like chronological steps for some people. Some people they can just write and it's done. Some people they're like, okay, all right. So she said that I could do mind mapping, not old people stuff. Like
all right, we gotta find out what is mind mapping the 2020 version. Let's see.
It's gotta be. It's gotta be
an app called mind mapping, and yeah, it's mind mapping.
We didn't have apps when I was in high school. We didn't have apps. All right. Okay. So you're gonna mind map starting out, and then once they get maybe a centralized, right? Can you talk about? Oh, she's cute. Can you talk about the aspect of knowing your outcome before you write? Because sometimes people they feel like they write and they're just writing, and they're not leading the reader to any kind of conclusion. So can you kind of talk about being able to have the end, knowing your end from the beginning? Do you teach that? I don't even know if that's a style you teach.
Not necessarily. I mean, I guess like from a technical standpoint of, what is the essay asking you to do? If there's a specific prompt, did you answer the question? But I do think just kind of utilizing the writing process, a conclusion is important. So kind of just some finality, wrapping it up, whatever the case may be. So yes. Can you say hello?
Hi.
Oh, hello.
Yes.
Okay. See you later.
Oh, she's
No,
fine.
that would be pretty much what I would speak to that without this kind of rambling on.
And my last question is, so let's say, for example, how do you help somebody come up with a proper conclusion? Does a conclusion have to be a whole paragraph, or does a conclusion need to be a concise 2 or 3 sentences? Or do they need to cite references like the other essay writer was citing statistical references or references that she was getting at? But I heard that you said that she didn't give any sources of where she got that data from. She just pulled statistics out, sourcing. But how do you do a proper conclusion?
I think 2 to 3 sentences would do the job. I mean, usually a paragraph, I feel like the level of it changes often, or like what is a complete paragraph. So I think 2 or 3 sentences, and again, maybe it kind of just depends on the topic, but just at least getting to like, maybe a part of it is like, the story is still being written, depending on what you're kind of talking about in your essay. But this is what I'm excited about in the future. I look forward to, whatever the case may be. So even if it maybe feels flowery, but at least, you kind of have some sort of in there. Please don't break it.
So just something just hit me. And so we're going to do this. It's not going to be a lot. So we'll do a $25 gift card from College Coaching Network. But
Nice.
for any of the people that are out there right now that's listening to us, if you write an essay on what you're thankful for going into the Thanksgiving holiday, if you write an essay, on a one-page essay on what you're thankful for and why you're thankful for, you submit that to us and we select you as the winner. We will put you on our social media handles, like we did with some other feature essay writers before, and get you out there as being a future writer. We will give you a $25 gift card so you can go out there and whatever you're going to do, Chick-fil-A. If you want to invite us to eat with you.
Somebody wrote about Chipotle.
Right. Yates Barbecue in Kansas City, where we're from, however you want to do that. But we'll make sure we give you a $25 gift card if you're selected and put your name and lights and all that. But we would love to hear your voice on what you're thankful for. In conclusion, is there any things that you've seen from when you were on the panel reviewing those essays from other people that you're saying, these are the top 3 things that I would strongly suggest that you do, and these are the top 3 things that I strongly suggest you don't do?
That's good.
It's probably, let's see, start with the easier. Just please have someone else look at what you wrote, and even kind of to that point of, there are a group of people that, like you said, can write something easy peasy and it comes naturally, but some people do have to work towards it. So even if it's okay, I got a draft on Monday, I'm gonna come back at it by Wednesday, and then maybe kind of have a final draft by Friday, which kind of gets to the point about timeliness and being prepared. So hey, you have a scholarship deadline coming up a month from now. That might seem like it's so far off, but the time really does just kind of go by pretty fast. So being able to plot and plan to say, I'm giving, first of all, myself enough time to write. I'm giving people who I'm asking to review it some time to look at it, because in my experience of working with students, they kind of think that their sense of urgency, they try to put it on you, and that's actually not very fair. And so, it's really clever saying about, making other people's problems your own, but, try to avoid that. Sometimes it may be, hey, I just heard about this scholarship application and it's due a week from now. Okay, maybe, but a lot of times there is usual lead time in being able to follow all the steps, and then just be truthful about your own story. So I think it was that show Little Fires Everywhere, where one of the characters stole the story of another character just because she again thought that it was gonna make her look better in terms of getting admitted to a college, and it backfired on her. So just being able to speak to what your story is. So those are the do's, which kind of really blended in with the don'ts. It's kind of like every rule has a don't. So don't turn it in after the deadline.
Don't plagiarize.
Don't plagiarize. Yeah. All of those things, but it's like I said, I do know that it can be a lot of work. I remember being a high school student and feeling like, this is a lot, or even, having the opportunity to apply for scholarships while I was in college. But and I guess even kind of utilizes some of those same things. So I'm not writing scholarship essays, but just being able to like work on grants or be able to apply for programs, and I still have to come up with the why. Like, why am I doing, why do I want to do this? And so still, utilizing those same tools. But I like to write. So, and I know that that's maybe a part of the reason why I enjoy helping others with the process. And but again, just kind of recognizing it's not everybody's strength, but you have a support system with this organization and there are people who are willing to help you. You just kind of have to ask, and again, not say, "Hey, can you read my essay tonight?"
Right.
Because it's due tomorrow. Like that's the worst. But I've definitely had to tell students like, no, I can't, and it doesn't feel good because you know what that means for students. But it's also like, look, I can't. Like I literally don't have the time because I have myself, my family, those kind of things. So
I have a life.
I have a life, that's not predicated around students. And so just, and I think that help. That's kind of one of those real life skills that help students, timeliness, deadlines, and preparedness that you didn't do what you had to do. So you lost out on this opportunity.
So before we throw it over to Mika to take us home, you said opportunity. So we have these study halls. They're our ambassador club, but they're basically a glorified study hall that we're doing 4:30 to 5:30. So if you have an essay, the next time we invite Crystal to come out, if you have an essay, we're going to want you to get it to us in a timely manner. We'll give you the cutoff time on when we need to have it because she probably would like to put some eyes on it before she comes out. And then we can do what Mika did and display those essays. And if you're comfortable with her kind of giving you some feedback on the spot, she can give you that feedback. If you're a leader, you don't mind getting constructive criticism. If you're somebody that's timid, then she can read it and maybe she can tell you offline, these are some things that I see or what have you. But we want it to be where if she can give you constructive criticism, there's probably somebody else that needed to hear that. And so as a group, we all can benefit from that. So I'll throw it over to Mika, and I definitely thank you for coming out. We will definitely have you back because we got a lot of students that need your assistance. So I definitely
with you all.
Yes. So again, we just want to thank Crystal for dedicating her time and her commitment and her passion to writing and spending her time here with College Coaching Network. Crystal is an amazing resource. She's helped our students tweak their scholarship essays before. And as you can see, she's going to be here to do it more in the future. So that we hope that you tune in, submit your essay so that we can use her expertise to help you secure the bag. Because again, scholarships equal dollars. The less debt that you can have going in the door is the less debt you have coming out the door. And that is one of our big goals of College Coaching Network, to help students graduate with as least debt as possible. And scholarships is a way to do so. So just going back, thinking about some of Crystal's awesome tips. Do not plagiarize. Make sure you stay in connection with the timelines and the restraints that you have with that paper, and use your voice. Find your passion within that prompt, because that's what's going to allow your story to come to life. So guys, thank you for tuning in to our Ambassador Club Live today. We wanted to share Crystal's awesome experience and expertise with everyone. But if you are not part of the College Coaching Network program, we have, of course, our elite program, which is only $97 for an entire year, that will be able to allow your students to have access to scholarships, our amazing mentors such as Crystal, and a slew of other things that are all within our program. And just a special peek preview, we're going to have a Black Friday event for our program. So you'll get an opportunity to take advantage of Black Friday pricing with our elite program. And then also a reminder, Claude has a $25 gift voucher out there available if you submit an essay to us telling us what you're thankful for. So don't forget to submit those essays. Tell a neighbor, tell a friend, $25 on the table. We want to give that money to you. So thank you guys for tuning in, and enjoy the rest of your day.